Very few people could go from being so beloved by fans to being so hated as quickly as Hulk Hogan did.
I've got the big boss man on my side, making sure that justice will be served.
After starting his wrestling career in 1977, Hogan quickly rose to fame and became arguably the most popular professional wrestler in history. His career lasted just under 4 decades, and in the end, his success made him a legend in the wrestling industry. However, most people's opinion of Hulk Hogan has changed over recent years, as the man himself seemed to continually tarnish his own reputation. So, how does something like that happen? What did Hogan do to make people dislike him so much? I wish we could say that the wrestler's scandal started only a few years ago, but when you look into his history, it makes you wonder how he remained popular for so long. One of his first publicized controversies took place as far back as 1985, when the wrestler was invited to appear on a talk show that was hosted by Richard Belzer. Hogan, as well as Mr. T, appeared on the show to promote the first ever WrestleMania event. However, during the interview, Belzer asked the wrestlers to show him some moves, and this was during a time when it wasn't widely accepted that professional wrestling was fake. So, in order to maintain the image that wrestling was real, Hogan put Belzer into a front chin lock and choked him out, for real, on live TV. Belzer ended up suing Hulk for $5 million, which was eventually settled outside of court. Another dark spot in Hogan's career took place in 1994, when Vince McMahon was on trial and facing charges for 2 counts of steroid distribution and 1 count of conspiracy to distribute steroids. During his trial, it came to light that Hogan was one of the wrestlers that had been using steroids, despite heavily denying ever using them in the past.
I've trained 20 years, 2 hours a day to look like I do. But the things that I am not is I'm not a steroid abuser, and I do not use steroids.
This went against the squeaky clean image that Hulk Hogan tried to maintain for the public. And to excuse his behavior, the wrestler tried to explain that almost all of his colleagues were using steroids to increase their performance as well. On top of his wrestling reputation being tarnished by the fact that Hogan was using steroids, it's also come to light that the wrestling champion was responsible for holding his fellow colleagues down, so that he could continue to rise to the top. It's no secret that he was dominating the world of wrestling in the 1980s and 90s, but have you ever wondered how he was able to do that? Well, it's because Hogan apparently knew how to play the politics of wrestling the best. Stories about this happening had been passed around the wrestling community for a while, but there was never any confirmation, at least not until 2018. During an appearance that Hulk Hogan made while promoting Crown Jewel, he was interviewed by the Orlando Sentinel and asked directly about these rumors and if there was any truth to them. And many people were surprised by how open and honest Hogan was about the fact that the rumors were true after all. He responded by saying, "Once I got in the spot, to keep the spot, that's where the politics came in. Everybody goes, well, Hogan was a politician. Well, thank God I was. That's why I made more money than anybody. That's why I kept the belt longer. That's why, instead of a 5 or 6 or 10-year run, like The Rock or Stone Cold or different wrestlers, I had a 35-year run on top." And though his honesty was appreciated, it's hard to ignore that he kept other people in his profession down so that he could remain top dog for more than 3 decades. Now, arguably one of the worst things that the world found out about Hogan was that he himself admitted to being racist. You see, about 7 years ago, back in 2015, a leaked sex tape not only showed that the wrestler slept with his friend Bubba the Love Sponge's wife Heather Clam, but it also included a rant that couldn't be described as anything other than racist. The rant was mainly centered around the information that Hogan's daughter was sleeping with a black man, something that the wrestler disapproved of. In the rant, Hulk can be heard saying the N-word on multiple occasions, and even suggesting that the only way he would approve of his daughter having a relationship with someone who wasn't white was if he was an 8-foot-tall professional basketball player. There was no redeeming himself at this point for Hulk Hogan, and even the WWE knew that. Once the sex tape leaked and all of this information came to light, Hogan was justifiably labeled as a racist, and even fired from the WWE, and removed from the WWE Hall of Fame. This was by far one of the biggest blows to the wrestler's reputation, and it still follows him around to this day.
It was probably the worst day of my life.
During one of his many weak attempts to apologize for the words he used, Hogan has also been seen as determined to place the blame anywhere but on himself.
I've apologized over and over and over for it.
In one instance, he claimed that he only used the racial slur so freely because of the rough neighborhood that he grew up in. And in case you weren't aware of this, that's not an excuse to use that word. There is no excuse. However, it wasn't only racism that showed itself in Hogan's ranting and raving during the leaked sex tape. The professional wrestler could also be heard using a homophobic slur as he was talking about something that the producers wanted him to do for the show Hogan Knows Best. According to the transcript from the tape, the producers at VH1 wanted Hulk to revisit his old childhood home. But when referring to the person who owned the house at the time, Hogan used a homophobic slur, which only added more scrutiny to his reputation. Fast forward to 2022, a time when you would be expecting everyone around Hulk Hogan to be telling him to keep his mouth shut and to be more careful about what he said, and you'll see that the wrestler still continues to put his foot in his mouth. In January 2022, Hogan took to Facebook to express his opinion on conspiracy theories surrounding COVID-19 and the vaccine. In a post following the heartbreaking deaths of Betty White and Sidney Poitier, Hogan mentioned that 100% Betty and Sidney were also jabbed, implying the idea that both of the celebrities had somehow been killed by the COVID vaccine, wrapping the comment up by saying, "They're dropping like flies, but they'll never say that." Though Hogan ended up deleting the comment eventually, it had already made its impression and drew attention from almost everyone. Jimmy Fallon made fun of the wrestler and his comments on his popular late-night show, The Tonight Show.
As a result, Hulk Hogan has been named the heavyweight champion of Facebook.
And Booker T also slammed Hogan on his podcast. During his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T said, "I don't have a whole lot of respect for someone saying something like that, especially when they have no idea what happened with this person or not." Now, I'm not sure if he's actually trying to fix his reputation or not, but it just seems like Hulk Hogan keeps digging himself into a deeper hole. That's all for today, and remember, if you're interested in more videos like this one, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in our next video.